Hello everyone, this is a video on our basic electronics board. In this video I'm going to explain you what its functions are and how to connect the parts to it, and also, most important, how to connect it to the stock board that comes with the DeLorean build. So let's start. In what concerns the functionality of this board, it has mainly two functions. The first one is that you can connect our flux capacitor and our Christmas tree to it and have them run in perfect sync. The second functionality is that you can add 4 extra parts, and I will get to this functionality later. This is what we call a basic board and is meant for people that want to be able to use our flux capacitor and our Christmas tree together with the stock electronics board that comes with the build, but also want to expand on the parts. It is not the same thing as our ultimate board that has like 30 more functionalities including sound and totally replaces the original board that comes with the build, and also the basic board is not needed because this one has a lot more connections. So getting back to our basic board, here you have it. We suggest that you connect the wormhole emitter, the clear electroseal golden box, the license plate and the overhead console, and there is even a connection for the black LMB box that is on the overhead console. In order to add extra parts to it, you will need to add resistors in order to not burn your LEDs. So what you see here is that I've already added 2 resistors to the board. I've got 160 for the wormhole emitter and 330 ohm for the clear electroseal golden box. Don't worry if you don't, if you will not remember those values. I will make sure that the manual for the basic board is in the description of this video, so please check the description of the video after you watch it, and you can check those values at any time. And also, if you would like to add some other parts that are not listed there, these are just suggestions. You can put your own resistor right here. So that's how we've made it. It's flexible. It lets you put your own parts depending on what you want to do. So first thing to do when adding the resistors, I will explain that part now, is you take a resistor. This one is a 2200 ohm resistor. Is going to go for the license plate, and we will start by bending the legs, to say so, and bend them really close to the resistor like this. Then you will introduce the resistor here, and meanwhile I'm going to start my soldering iron to prepare it for soldering it. I'm holding it with one hand, with one finger here on this side, and I'm also going to take the soldering iron. I have the tin here, so I'll start by taking a little bit of soldering tin on my soldering iron. And I'm going to, and I've already soldered one leg. One leg is now soldered in place, and the other one is easier. I don't have to hold it with my hand anymore. So now I'm going to solder the other leg as well. And there it is. And this is actually how you solder a resistor on this board. Pretty easy. Now you have those long legs protruding on the back side of the board. What you can do is I'm using a nail clipper, and I'm going to just cut them short. First one. And the second one. And here it is, the resistor is now in place. So a small recap, you will need resistors for any extra part that you see here. 160 ohm for the wormhole emitter, 330 ohm for the clear plate. That depends on the LEDs that you are using. We are going to put a link to the LEDs that we use for our build, so that you know that you always have the right LED with the right resistor to it. The link will be in the description. Then we have 2200 ohm for the license plate, and 680 resistor for the overhead console, which I have not yet soldered into place. Okay, this is the part on how to add the needed resistors to the board. Next part is how to connect it to the stock board that comes with the build. But first, I would like to mention one thing. If you are going to use it with the battery pack that comes with the build, you will notice that as the batteries discharge, your LEDs will become less and less bright. So if you want to avoid that condition, then you should really invest in changing to a power supply which has a steady output of 5 volt and will always keep the LEDs as bright as they can be. You will only need power adapter, a wall power adapter, and a power cable, and this one is really easy to make yourself, and it will also be mentioned in the manual that is linked in the description of this video. So you can do this modification for less than 20 euro and have a steady power supply for this board. So I will show you how to connect the wires when you do that. So first of all, what you need to know is that you have the power in connections here. So you need to take this wire, which has the red is the plus and the black is the minus, the negative, and connect it to the power in of this board. Then you will need two DuPont wires with a female connector, and you will connect the power out from this board to the power in of the stock board that comes with the build. So now I'm connecting the positive wire from power out of this board to the power in of this board, and I will do exactly the same with a negative. So this is how they connect to each other. What you see is that the current comes from here. It goes first inside this board, and then from this board gets to power the original EM board. This is how to connect them. Next, I will show you how to add the flux capacitor and the Christmas tree to it. I will first connect the Christmas tree to it, which is straightforward. You will receive the Christmas tree with a cable like this. You insert one part in the Christmas tree board like this. Make sure you have it doesn't matter actually, but for now, let's say make sure that red wire is on this side, and then you connect the other part, the other end of the cable on the basic board. So that's actually it for the Christmas tree. That's pretty easy. Now I will connect the flux capacitor. Connecting the flux capacitor is pretty easy too. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You have the flux capacitor connections here. You can see a C, a minus, and a plus. C is for the control cable, which is the blue cable. So you can connect the blue cable to the C. Then we have the minus cable, which is the ground. I'm going to connect it to the black wire, and then we have the red wire that goes on the plus connection. Okay, so that's actually it. The flux capacitor and the Christmas tree boards are now fully connected to the boards. There's one more thing, one more cable to be added, and that's the following. You will need to take the ground from the stock board and connect it to this pin. Let me show you closer. It's the pin that says Mosey on the top right side of this connector. So you will insert one wire here, and then the other one on the ground of one of the connections of the main board that belongs to the flux capacitor or the Christmas tree. Those are ports 15 or 16 on the stock board, in order to be able to turn it on when you press the button 4. One thing to remember about the original board is that on this board, but also on the wires that come with it, the positive wire is always on the side of the writings, and the negative or the ground wire is always on the other side of the writings. So this wire needs to be connected, and I will put it on 16. You can put it on 15 too, doesn't matter which, but you need to put it on the negative or the ground pin of connection 15 or 16. And now we have control from these switches to the flux capacitor and the Christmas tree. One thing to add if you are going to switch to a power adapter is that you take one that you can set yourself. The links will be in the manual, and put it to 4.5 volt. To recap, the advantage of a power adapter is that it supplies constant current, while a battery and constant voltage, while a battery, while draining, it drops the voltage, which results in the LEDs becoming less and less bright with time. So put it to 4.5 volt and then connect it, and I will do it right now. Okay, so I have just connected the power adapter, and I will show you how the flux and Christmas tree now work in sync. So now we can push on button number 4 to start both. The Christmas tree always starts a little bit later. That's accurate, as in the movie the Christmas tree is always off. So we wanted to recreate that and to have it be off for even a short period of time, like here, before this repeats. So now we have them in perfect sync, working together. And when you're ready, you can switch them off by pushing button 4 again. So one question that I had is that, can this be used with the wireless board as well? And the answer is yes, you can, because that wireless board connects to this, I call it the FR connector on the stock board. So that's actually just an input for this board and doesn't has anything to do with how this gets connected. So that's just an input for here. So it's perfectly fine to use the wireless board and connect to EM, and then have control through the wireless board on what's happening with the parts. Another thing that I would like to mention is that when you receive the basic board, you will also receive these 3 wires, so you can always connect it to the stock board. These wires may be of a different color, so it's important that you can connect the plus to the plus and the minus to the minus here, and also the ground from the main board, connection 15 or 16, to the MOSI top right pin on the basic board. For the extra parts, you will have to provide the DuPont wires yourself. The link to the right DuPont wires that you need in order to connect those will be in the manual, and the link to the manual is in this video's description, so make sure you check it. Meanwhile, I have prepared the basic board with the resistor needed for the overhead console. I'm going to show you how to add the overhead console as an added part to this. And in order to put an extra connection on the basic board, you will need 2 wires with male female connector, and 1 wire with a female connector. So how do we connect these? So first of all, we will need to determine on which port to connect the overhead console. And in this case, it makes the most sense when you connect it to port number 17, because that's also the connection for the dashboard and the meters. So what we are going to do is start by bridging the ground from port 17. I'm connecting, the ground is the pin on the other side of the writings, and I'm going to put the other female connector on the most left pin of the overhead port here. So now I have bridged the ground from port 17 of the stock board to the basic board. What you need to do next is the male connector. The positive wire goes on the positive connection of wire 17, and that's the connection which is near to the writings. The one on the other side is the negative wire. So here you put the other cable for the ground. The positive wire you connect to the original board on the side of the writings. That's the positive wire. The negative wire you connect to the basic board. In this case, you can take the second pin of the overhead connection. Now, what we've done, if we brought the ground from here to here, and we've connected the dashboard and the meters. What finally needs to be done is to connect the overhead wires to the basic board. And if you look closely to the basic board, you will see that there's a plus on the most right pin of the connector. So the red wire or your positive wire needs to go there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so small recap. What we've done, if we took the ground from the stock board connection 17 and we've connected it to the most left pin of the basic board, then we have split the connection of the original wire. We've put a positive connection, which is the one near the writings. We have connected back to the stock board, and the ground to the second position of the overhead port here. And then we've connected as the final one the overhead console wires, the red, the most the positive wire to the rightmost connection here. Now the only thing that needs to be done is to push. I'm going to push button 3 here, and you will see that both the dashboard and the overhead console will come on. You see the dashboard and the overhead console too, so they're both on, and when I push button 3 again, they will go out, on and off. And that's basically it, how you connect an extra part to the board. So now you can see how it's done, and then you can connect your own things. So this is it on the basic board and how to connect things to it. I'm sure that you will be able to connect all the extra parts that you want to the EM board if you are staying with it. And this concludes our video. Until next time, bye.